We are discussing a chapter in Common Sense called Potential. And about halfway through the commentary process, we decided that recording should have started at the beginning. So here we are starting in the middle. And maybe we will come back. I'm on page 52. To understand potential, notice that right now, we have the potential to find new jobs, to move to Arizona, to write an epic poem, to go play basketball, to drive to the ocean and walk on the sand, to buy plane tickets to London, and so on. Notice that our nature, our potential, is inherently free and is not one particular thing, playing out in one particular way. Potential means, by definition, that anything can happen, given the appropriate effort, causes, and conditions. So...
Can we go back to the other one about the building really quickly?
What we just spoke about?
Because I think it's important. It's important to at least try to see the ease or the effortlessness of moving forward once we've made the commitment. I used to say it when we were trying to do training at whatever. I used to always call it a meta decision.
Mm-hmm.
You can make a decision at a certain level that then
it makes all the consequent or subsequent decisions
for you.
Yeah.
So, for example, once I've committed myself to building myself in a certain way, let's say, for example, once I've committed myself to becoming more patient as a person, like actually committed, actually made that decision, not like thought about it, but like have decided to, no, now I'm going to become like this, then every single person who tries to obstruct my development of patience actually amplifies my development of patience. Once I've wholeheartedly committed to becoming more forgiving, for example, then every single person who tries to obstruct that development actually amplifies that development. So I'm saying, there's this thing with people thinking that, tension and you have to do hard and discipline and all of this. But actually, if you can just stay in the, when we remind ourselves to just try to observe, see things clearly, then you're just built. It's like everything that's happening is actually just good. It's contributing to your mastery of yourself. Or like I was saying, when you're building a building, let's say I'm a builder, something like that, and I'm just starting my career. Like the difference between a master builder and someone who's just starting a career as a builder is that the master builder has experienced every adverse condition that could possibly happen on a construction site. They've gone through all of that stuff, and that's what makes the master builder a master builder. That any type of configuration, weather, funding, people calling out, equipment breaking down, something, they've seen all that, and they've come up with solutions for all that shit. So I'm saying once we committed to becoming masters of ourselves, then every fucking thing that happens is contributing to that.
Mm.
And so then it's not, that's why I'm saying it's effortless. Like if it's a sincere commitment, then it's inevitable that just more mastery, more unfoldment.
Yeah, I mean, I think this idea is amazing, and I don't think that it's really explained in this chapter in the writing.
Yeah.
But I mean, when you said it just now, I was like mind blown. You know, that also what you're saying is, I think, a very Vajra point of view, that everything is part of the path. Everything can be used for our growth and development and evolution. There's nothing that needs to be wasted or discarded or something like that. It's all useful. All the experiences are opportunities. But my one point of debate that you can probably figure out a way to punch through is like, so since I've been reading Gurdjieff a lot, and I think you're kind of maybe throwing some jabs at the, you know, tension all the time point of view, like, you know, you have to struggle and all this stuff. But I would say from his perspective, or from that school of thought, one might say, but how could someone really make that sincere commitment, you know? How could someone really, like, actually make that choice to become a master builder?
The struggle or the tension is to live the commitment every day.
Mm-hmm. But then that would point to the difficulty of actually making a choice.
No, what I'm saying is the discipline comes at the meta level. When you make a commitment, it's just one moment, right? And then in the next moment, if you're not making the commitment again,
mm-hmm.
then it's not a commitment,
right?
You know, or we say, are you committed to this or something like that? Or in other words, are you reliable?
Mm-hmm.
You know, someone calls out or someone says they want this shift and then they like, oh, but I can't come in until this time. You know, it's like that.
Right.
So then if what I mean by sincere commitment is that, yeah, it will spontaneously emerge once, but then you like can grab it. Like the vibe of it, you can grab it and know it, and then you can repeat it, you know, every day. Oh, I'm going to live this way. Great, that's done. Now I'm going to live this way again today, and again today, and again today, and that's being committed. I'm saying over time.
So that's a practice.
So that's something that can be a struggle in the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
Just like an athlete, you know, trying to work on some type of muscle memory. It's a struggle at the beginning, but then it becomes just natural. It's like integrated into your shit.
Mm-hmm. It also makes me think of, I mean, I don't know if this example is relatable to people, but if anyone has worked with metal, then there's like a certain process of shaping it. And at first, it's really hard to kind of get it going. But eventually it starts to yield to whatever shape you're, you know, making effort to get it into. So it's kind of the same. Like there's sort of like this inertia that has to be overcome to get ourselves to yield to the commitment.
Yeah, to ourselves, and even the oscillation, like even us being half-assed about the commitment initially, also is a required condition for realizing that we want to be more committed, and then it contributes more and more like
That's
that.
interesting. That I feel that assertion could, what's the word? It could, like, shake up some of the Gurdjieff stuff. That our inability at first to maintain our commitment is part of the process.
Yeah.
And it's a necessary, like you always give the example of the, I forget what it's called, but the little silver balls.
The pendulum balls, and then the first one it
swings way high up.
Yeah.
And then it falls back down, and then transfers the force to the other side, and that one swings way high up, and eventually they kind of stop doing that. Takes a while, but eventually they come to a...
They're settled.
Settled. Yeah,
it's like that. So if we were to... I'm just going to be silly, kind of provocative here real quick with that analogy. If we use a similar logic and just zoom out all the way, then everyone's going to become enlightened, actually.
Mm-hmm.
It's inevitable that everyone's going to be a Buddha. Because once one enlightened being gets the pendulum going, then it's it.
Yeah. Interesting.
The planet has been saved. I'm kidding, sort of.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm kidding, sort of.
Yeah. Well,
keep going.
Well, yeah, I hope that this is helpful to bring in other ideas, because it feels helpful for me to clarify. What I'm saying specifically is that reading In Search of the Miraculous again, it not only because it's using new words to describe certain ideas, but it's examining certain ideas that we think about from a different point of view. I find it helpful to bring those ideas into this type of conversation and re-examine the things that we talk about from that perspective, because usually what seems to be contradictory, like through analysis and through, I don't know, just discussing it, inevitably the ideas do merge, and like bringing together multiple points of view, I feel it gives me a deeper understanding of them. So I hope it's not annoying that I'm bringing in Search of the Miraculous, but it does make me think about these things that we've talked about so much from a different point of view. So, anyway.
But there's a cohesion that happens there's a connectivity that is obvious. Even if a certain tradition or school or whatever seems to be totally unrelated from another, if there are teachers, realized teachers in that space, then they're going to say something that will overlap with another one. And that's why I was, we used to talk about lineage. And that's what I mean more technically by the lineage, is that there are, whatever word we want to use, if we think that's possible, that's another thing. But when a being wakes up, or whatever, however you want to think of that, then what that person wakes up to is just the fundamental state of things. And so, as that's expressed, it's like, because every culture is literally built on top of and from the fundamental state of things. Even if something was written in a different language, different place, different time, or whatever, it will still be able to be unpacked by someone who's either, you know, a serious seeker of the fundamental state of things, or by someone who has also awakened to the fundamental state of things. So, in that way, that there is a, I think we used to call it the golden thread or something like that. There's a thread of connectivity, you know, or you could call it also like a safe, you know, and someone who has the lock, who's unlocked that, can take a teaching that has been either written or spoken by someone who's realized the fundamental state of things, and even if it was 100 years ago, 2,000 years ago, be like, hey, this is this, you know, it's like, it means this, you know, and it will feel alive again, you know. It's like that.
It seems like that is the defining feature of a real lineage. And yeah, and it kind of goes by many names. Like, I've also been spending a lot of time with the writings of the Roriks, and I think in their words they would call it the hierarchy, which, you know, has its own connotations and its own nuances, but I think it's the same fundamental idea as, you know, what we would call lineage. And I think with their with the use of the word hierarchy, it emphasizes even more maybe what you're saying right now, that in order to have a lineage, it has to include, or it has to have someone in it who has realized fundamental nature of our being, and who can clearly bring the teachings back to life. And it seems like if such an individual were to exist, then that person might be called a mentor or a teacher, in which case the word hierarchy makes sense, because you know, the teacher has something that the students do not yet grasp.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if we don't acknowledge that there is some sort of hierarchy, that there is some one or some group of beings that know more than us, we have no chance of getting anywhere.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
We have no chance of building ourselves, to use this
Totally.
topic of conversation.
Yeah. How could you learn to build a building? How
Yeah.
could you build a building if you didn't learn how to build a building?
And how would you do so without
Someone
a master architect?
Yeah, someone who knows how to do that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Do you want to go back to anything in the chapter?
No, just keep going.
Okay.
How can you master yourself if you don't know how to master yourself?
Mm-hmm.
Is it or isn't it like this? Anyway, keep going.
So coming back to the paragraph that I read at the beginning, it's talking about understanding potential and how we have the potential right now to do many different things, but that we can't do all of them at the same time, at once, right now. We can't simultaneously move to Arizona and write an epic poem and play basketball and drive to the ocean. Like, we have to pick one.
Sure.
So
This is good.
So, yeah, it says potential means by definition that anything can happen given the appropriate effort, causes, and conditions, ... But everything cannot happen at once. So it points to the fact that our movement along the path, it happens decision by decision. And coming back to your point about commitment, that is not a one-time thing.
Mm-hmm.
It has to be reinforced now and now and now and tomorrow and the next day and the next day and the next day until it is fully forged and indissolvable. I don't know, I made up a word.
Yeah, that's good. Yes.
Like atomic, like you can't separate it. The real meaning of the word atom. Like your commitment has to become atomic.
Yeah.
Indestructible.
Yeah.
And then you have the potential to do what you were saying, which is use all of the resistance from other people and conditions and events as ways to get stronger.
That can't happen until the
commitment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because then we'll misinterpret everything as like, oh, this sucks.
Totally.
Instead of realizing, oh, I'm just I'm bench pressing right now.
Right. So if we find ourselves experiencing those types of attitudes or thoughts, like, oh, this sucks, does that mean that we haven't fully forged our commitment?
Well, that's why I'm saying the struggle is to forge the commitment. And also, some things do suck. Right? Like, I always used to say, don't drink bleach. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So, you can't just say like, oh, there's nothing, everything is good. It's like, I'm not saying that either.
Right. And also, if we just tried to project that attitude on everything, we would also be missing the point.
Yeah. Like, don't walk on the highway, like,
yeah,
whatever.
But I think
what I'm saying is, once we have the commitment itself, like, what we want to do is not have a bad time. Mm-hmm. So right there, from the very, very beginning of making some type of turn, we recognize that there are certain that we are starting to grasp cause and effect. Hey, if I do this thing happens. That's my experience. I don't want to do this anymore because I don't want this thing to happen anymore. I want to do this instead. Mm-hmm. I'm saying. So.
Well, yeah, and that what you just said points. Well, yeah, it points back to the main point that if we feel like we're having a bad time, then the opportunity to reinforce our commitment takes the form of, oh, I forgot that I'm building this life, and therefore it's my decision what I get involved with. And if I don't like what I'm doing, then one, I should analyze, what is the cause of my dislike or whatever, and is it actually a real is it really like drinking bleach, or am I creating some unnecessary distortion about the situation? And that process is difficult because it's a part of developing discernment.
Yeah.
But that's just the point, is that what you're saying doesn't negate discernment. Like, to have a commitment doesn't mean you have to get rid of your discernment about what's good and bad or something like that. Mm-hmm. It just means you have to refine it and understand that whatever you're doing, whatever I'm doing, I'm making a choice to participate in those things. Mm-hmm. I make a choice to say yes to a job and everything that comes along with it. So take it or leave it, but don't complain about it. Mm-hmm. Something like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, commitment is discernment. Mm. A choice, in other words. A decision, in other words. which by definition means this, not that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So there's so once we make a decision, this, not that, in other words, discipline, this, not that, then as we move forward, what you're saying technically is aversion. Sometimes we will have an aversion to discipline or anything that is, located in the domain of the activity that we're engaged in, that represents, our initial effort to become disciplined or become committed, like working in a restaurant or something. Mm-hmm. It's like, oh, this sucks. And you're like, oh, wait, I forgot that I'm actually making money right now. I'm learning a skill right now. Mm-hmm. I might make friends, whatever.
Totally.
Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah. No. And I'm also saying that I decided to be here. I agreed to be here. So take it or leave it kind of thing, I decided to be here, so I can decide not to be here. Or I can decide to be here and have a certain constructive attitude.
Sure.
And it's really that simple.
Yeah.
Totally. I'm going to be here. This is what's going to happen. I can choose how I respond to it. I can choose to use the circumstances as fuel for reinforcing my commitment, for developing certain qualities, blah, 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 for meeting people, whatever. Or I can choose to go somewhere else. In which case, I'll probably have other opportunities for resistance and developing qualities.
Yeah.
You can't escape that.
Or I could be so new to trying to improve myself that the aversion is overwhelming and I decide to quit.
Yeah.
And then I find myself in a couple weeks' time right back at the starting point.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, shit, I got to do this again, And
yeah, which is fine because then eventually you learn that this is how you learn.
Yeah, you got to go through it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't get to 200 pounds on bench press without having gone through 150 pounds on bench press.
Yeah.
Anyway.
You know what it just reminded me of? This is kind of silly, but I forget which Lord of the Rings it's from, where a group of them is traveling with Gandalf, and they come to this giant mountain that they can't really go around. They have to go through it. And on the door, it says in Elvish, "Speak, friend, and enter." And they're trying to figure it out. And then they say the word friend in Elvish, and then the door opens. And I was thinking about how that relates to this chapter and being inside of something and being in relationship with something. If we speak friend and enter, then we can go through the experience. Meaning if we make friends, if we make an acquaintance with whatever it is that's happening, whatever the situation is in our lives, and we develop a working relationship with it, then we can go through it and potentially learn something.
This is very good.
Speak friend and enter.
Yeah. Well, friend means that you're close, you're intimate with something.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean we're partying all the time. It doesn't mean that. When you're intimate with something, you're hypersensitive to its needs.
Totally.
And that's all.
Yeah. I'm saying friend to represent a relationship.
Yeah, a relationship.
Yeah.
So a relationship to yourself, a relationship to the situation that you're in, Mm-hmm. The more intimate you become with it, meaning the more clearly you can see how it has come to be. If I can see how something was made, then I can take it apart also.
Yeah. Also.
So that's all. Mm. Once you can see how you got somewhere, like my GPS, I put my GPS and I go to Whole Foods and I'm like, oh, this is how you go to Whole Foods. And then I put it back and it's literally the same thing in reverse. Mm.
Mm-hmm.
So you can get out of it, in other words.
Mm.
If we can see how some situation has come to be, then you can see how it can also not come to be.
Mm-hmm.
Or in other words, how you can work yourself through it or out of it.
Mm-hmm. That's good.
Maybe enough for today? Or you want to keep going?
There's more, but we can wrap it up.
Do one more.
Okay. All right, this is next after that paragraph I read. Therefore, to have an inherently free nature means that we have the potential to create ourselves into anything we wish. And taken a step further, to have an inherently free nature actually means that if something is manifest, it was created. None of us can locate, identify, or remember an experience that was not manifest. Experience, by definition, is experienceable, and therefore always manifest. Well, reality is an experience, not an idea.
Mm-hmm.
And
well, we were saying I think we could try to start wrapping up. We were saying that, or this chapter is saying something about our nature is potential.
Mm-hmm.
And you're saying, right now I could potentially fly to London and Arizona and Texas and the moon
Mm-hmm.
and Mars, and if we had wormholes, some other galaxy or something,
Mm-hmm.
all that shit exists all at once.
So that's saying that's our nature. And
Yeah, which means, but I'm saying, but what that means is that, let's say, for example, I'm located right here, boom, on a map. And, we're located right now in Raleigh, North Carolina, and we could fly all over the place. I could fly here, I could fly here, I could fly here, I could fly here, I could fly here. That's potentially,
Mm-hmm.
let me be specific. Potentially, I could fly to Texas. Potentially, I could fly to wherever the fuck.
Yeah.
In other words, I'm free to choose.
Yeah.
Right now, I'm free to choose. I'm saying that is our nature.
But is it also saying the inverse, that whatever we're experiencing is not our nature?
Well, potential
If potential is our nature.
Potential is a thing,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then I'm saying it's important to see that first.
Mm-hmm.
Potential means
We're free to choose.
that's all that it means.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And therefore, and therefore, if there's a problem that isn't our potential, but also if there's something good happening that isn't our potential either.
Yeah.
Or potential, or in other words, our nature.
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying that's important. I'm saying it's important to grasp that, because then the rest becomes easy.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever the hell is happening, I'm free to choose how I want to respond. That's our nature.
Mm-hmm.
Coupled with other things, but I'm just trying to keep it simple for now.
Yeah. All right. I don't think there's much more to say about that paragraph.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think about how to... So... the style of choice, this is important too, about potential and nature. Because when we think about responding to things, or even choice, period, the choice, the types of choices that even show up on our immediate radar screen, like flying in an airplane or going to this city named this, all of that is predetermined by all the other shit.
All of the previous actions that people have done?
Yeah, previous actions that people have done, languages,
yeah,
like design, cultural whatever. You dig? So even in the idea of I'm free to choose, I'm only free to choose given the matrix of all the other shit that has ever happened.
Right.
So I'm trying to say, like, my nature is, yes, free to choose, but also totally endowed with all the other experience that has ever happened, and like colored with that, and like, or we used to say, you can't think something that you can't think. Mm-hmm. Or in other words, you can't think a thought that has never been thought.
Mm-hmm. It's good.
Right?
Yeah, I think you're making a really important point, because you're pointing to the relationship between potential and experience. That the more we strive and make effort to like manifest our potential, something like that. I don't like those words, but something like that. Then the more we unlock other people's potential to manifest. Like, because somebody once decided they wanted to try to make an airplane, now we can fly in planes.
Yeah.
And now we have the potential to go to Peru or Egypt or wherever we want to go, because somebody did something.
Yeah.
It's not just potential as this abstract idea.
Right.
We have to... There are definite causes and conditions for it to manifest, and it necessarily depends on other people.
Right.
And their actions.
Yeah, so I'm saying when we think of potential, but specifically about when we think of our nature, it's not like just some, ethereal thing that's like, I'm a spirit and I'm just inherently free all the time.
Totally.
It's like, sort of, that's partially true. That's half the coin, but also you're really only free to choose how to respond to things that other people have done, mm-hmm. or other people, mm-hmm. or other phenomena. It's because of the existence of the other phenomena, mm-hmm. and whatever the hell they're all doing and have done, mm-hmm. that you think that you're thinking about certain options. Totally. Something like that. It's like, I'm in a chair, and what if I wasn't on a motorcycle, or what if
you can only think that because it was created at one time.
So all of that stuff starts to, like, you ever see a toroidal field? Do you know what I'm talking about?
I think so.
It's like a 3D thing, and it's like
folding in on
itself, but then opening
out.
And folding in on itself and opening like that.
Like a 3D donut, kind of.
A 3D donut, and like everything's circling back towards the center and then mm-hmm. going out, and circling back towards the center and going out, mm-hmm. and circling back to the center. And like, it's like that.
Mm-hmm. Or like a Klein bottle, the inside and the outside. Like eventually the inside becomes the outside.
It's like that.
Yeah.
So each moment we're aware that there is a multitude of variety of phenomena. Mm-hmm. Like, we're more or less aware of that. Mm-hmm. And each moment we decide to get involved with some specific piece of that, for some reason, I'm saying. And that decision, the decision to get involved with some specific part of that is a meta decision that we've either made deliberately or mechanically, and we're just going through the motions and finding ourselves like tending toward one specific space or the other or whatever. Our potential, aka our nature, is that at any moment in time we can press pause and think about other options and think about how we even, why it is the case that we think that we're here anyway. I don't want to just philosophize so much, but I'm saying that it's important because it's important. It's the most important thing to see that all we're doing, the only thing that we're doing is responding to other phenomena.
Totally.
The only reason that we're here is because of other phenomena, and the only thing that we're doing at all is responding to other phenomena. And so I'm saying, so otherness, like other things,
Yeah, it brings about a certain attitude and way of thinking and being when we consider that enough.
So
and correctly.
All we're doing is responding to other phenomena. In other words, all we're doing, our nature, I'm saying, our nature and all we're doing, it's a toroidal thing. It's like sometimes it's a little bit more, sometimes it's more expressed, sometimes it's less expressed. All we're doing is responding to other phenomena. In other words, all we're doing is engaging other phenomena. In other words, all we're doing is playing a game. Here comes this player. I'm going to respond like this. Here comes the ball. I'm going to swing like this. Here comes the ball. I'm going to swing like this. Here comes this defender. I'm going to dribble like this. Here comes this linebacker. I'm going to spin like this. All we're doing is responding to other phenomena. In other words, all we're doing is engaging other phenomena. Engagement itself, response itself, we know by common sense is more or less skillful. Yeah? That's why we make the commitment in the first place, because we realize, oh, my engagement is not as skillful as I want it to be.
Yeah.
Now, I'm stressing others. I'm trying to tie this together. I'm stressing others because if we want to improve our lives, then we have to earn the respect of other people.
Why do you say respect?
Because if you want to improve your life, by definition, that means, let's say, for example, you need to improve your finances. Well, then that means you need to get a job and keep it and get promoted and whatever.
You need respect for that.
And you need other people to recognize your skill.
Yes.
So I'm saying simultaneously, nature and like something that's potential and active, and also oneself and others.
Mm-hmm.
Like that relationship, you were saying something about something being unbroken, like that, they're intricately intertwined, right? So if everything that I'm doing is responding to other people, and I have some attempt to master myself or become realized or something, or just get more money.
Mm-hmm.
Everything boils down to individual performance in real time. In other words, or skill. How skillfully I'm interacting with this situation. Called this weather condition, this person's attitude, this commute, I don't have a car. Right? Is it making sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's this idea that, oh, I don't care what other people think of me, but actually what matters is whether or not people value your clarity and your competence.
Mm.
Or in other words, as you said, if they feel you're a reliable friend, that you can come through, then if you prove yourself as someone who's reliable and competent, then you can have whatever you want. And I'm saying, if what you want is enlightenment, then the requirement is clarity and competence. Like that's what defines a Buddha, I'm saying.
Yeah. It's the same.
It's the same.
Mm-hmm. But then it's so obvious that we can't see it at first.
Yeah.
Or it takes a while to see it.
Yeah. I call them puzzle pieces. You have to have first you have to define the puzzle pieces, and then you have to see how they fit together.
Mm.
I'm saying the conversation about potential is the beginning, so that we can see that, oh, actually that's true. I don't have to do anything. Actually, I'm free to do anything.
Mm-hmm. But I also notice I have an inherent preference for certain types of things.
Sure.
Which then it gives me, what did you call it? The motive, it directly influences the motive to, I don't know, what did you say? Let me not badly quote you.
I'm saying if we see that once we recognize that we're free to choose,
mm-hmm.
and we recognize that whatever the hell we're going to choose is only possible because of other people,
mm-hmm.
right? Let's say I want to choose to study medicine.
Mm-hmm.
I'm free to stop this right now and choose to study medicine. There's a part of my nature that no one can take away from me, called I'm free to choose. But also there's a part of my nature that necessarily depends on other people, called the practice of medicine. Now, if I can see both of those things, then I'm perfectly positioned to unite aspiration, performance, individual effort with humility.
Wow. Thank
you, teacher. I'm going to study with you and something. And then that's the lift. There's this word ascension or something.
Mm-hmm.
So lift, in order for lift to happen, in order for ascension to happen, or spiritual maturity or whatever, then the related forces have to be applied in perfect opposition or something like that.
Wow.
Right? So the individual performance that is concentrated on proving oneself to others, proving one's skill and reliability to others, multiplied by one's humility and gratitude for some existing line of study, field of inquiry, innovation, or just the earth, or whatever the fuck.
Totally.
That's the way.
Yeah, that's so good.
Yeah.
Like, what else do you need to understand?
Well, it just takes It takes a long time to be able to see that,
Yeah.
it's not just,
right.
Oh, everything is perfect. That's true, but also, it's only perfect because processes are happening.
Mm-hmm. Effort, resistance.
Yeah. It's perfect because gravity also.
Yeah.
Which means there's a force that's going squashing things down.
Yeah. And like I was saying earlier, that's the only reason that we can even build a building.
Yeah.
Without gravity, you have nothing to struggle against. And it's not so insurmountable that buildings just fucking fall down all the time, like we live
or floating apart, or things don't stay stuck together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that would be like too weak gravity, something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's really profound what you're saying, and really obvious at the same time once you can see it.
Yeah. You should care as much as possible about what other people think of you. Not about your persona, whether you're famous, not that.
Yeah.
Can people count on you?
Right.
Because if you prove yourself to other people in terms of your accountability, you can have whatever you want. And by definition, that's also what constitutes a Buddha over time. Is that
supremely accountable?
Yeah, that you actually can help other people in a very specific way. Help them see, oh shit, like this is what I should be doing with my time and how I should be treating others. Mm-hmm. And yeah. And once we've done that enough, then things happen, Anyway.
Drops mic.
Are we out?